They're not acting like vaccines. They're not providing durable protection. The data is increasingly demonstrating that these products are in a dose-dependent manner. That's key for scientists, okay? If you want to have a causative relationship between a drug and an adverse event, you want to see as you give more drug, you get more adverse event, right? Makes sense. We're observing that now. And we're observing the cardiotoxicity, the cardiologists that are looking at this in a more and more granular way, let alone the anecdotal of this, the high-performing athletes, the weightlifters, etc., spontaneously expiring, I'll make that gentle, on the field in the middle of high-performance sports activities at rates that seem to be unprecedented. Despite all that, we're now seeing more and more and more data that the cardiotoxicity, the myocarditis, is actually quite prevalent. If you just rely on clinical myocarditis, that means that something has caused so much damage that it caused you to go to the hospital. Okay, we call it a grade 4 adverse event. That's a big deal in medicine. A drug causes you to go to the hospital. That's a big deal. What we're seeing is that now that cardiologists and others have become sensitized to this risk, and the tests that can be performed, like troponin assays and certain types of MRI scans, functional tests, we're seeing evidence that it may be the majority of particularly young males that receive these vaccines are having cardiac damage. Furthermore, it's long been known that myocarditis, on average, before the vaccine of any cause, viral or otherwise, had something like a 15 to 20% mortality rate at a 5-year horizon. As the data is going by, because remember, it hasn't been that long, what the cardiologists are telling me is that they're observing morbidity and mortality, that's disease and death, that is tracking along those same lines as would be observed with classical myocarditis. So you'll recall that as the CDC disclosed that myocarditis was a problem, and I think we discussed this on our prior interviews, the story promoted in the press, how else do you say it? We could call it propaganda, in my opinion, but whatever it is, that messaging, the approved messaging that was promoted in the legacy media, mainstream media, was that this is mild myocarditis, and the children are recovering, they're not going to have problems with it. That's not what the data is showing now. The data are showing that these young boys in particular, but it's also young girls, just at a lower incidence, there seems to be a testosterone factor, cofactor in this, but they're not recovering. As I've been saying all along, heart muscle doesn't heal, it scars. And I fear that not only do we have this cancer risk, but we have this long-term heart damage risk.